pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, Mr. Holm. Okay, discuss capital projects. That is the first thing on the agenda. Liz, I think the way this is set out, that's fun, but or fine, I should say. But do you have questions about capital projects, or do you have anything that you want to start? Because I'm assuming you haven't blended into what you believe is the.
Questions I've got. So what we would need. As of right now, I don't have any.
As a whole, for now, I don't know that we would plan on any special assessments at this point in time, just because we have never done that. We've never assessed any of the road projects or anything like that, or parts of the capital projects to the people.
Yes.
Yes.
We put it in place where we can do it up to, I think, up to 20% or something like that, but we decided to have it in the policy but not act at that time, or act during the time.
Yeah, they're just refreshing my memory.
Okay, and I think through Hawkinson Anderson, if we have 1 and 2, that's what you're talking about, is option 1 and 2 from them, correct? I think that reconstructing the roads and reconstructing roads only without doing anything. Town roads or the city roads, if you will. Option 2 would be more closer to what we would move forward with.
Correct. Yeah, and speaking to the engineer, he sent out, Sam sent out a recap, and talking to Shane and them, option 2, you get more, it's a little bit more money, but you're gonna get more projects done. It's not like the huge profit, where you have the complete, reconstruct on a lot of those roads. And a lot of those roads, are kind of like 100th and 297th, where you're gonna need a lot of, easements, and you got wetlands and stuff like that. So, option 2, more, reconstruct, not reclaim and everything, so it's a better bang for your buck. And which one of that, I think we've asked Hawkinson Anderson for what's our MSA dollars for on these roads, what can be recouped on that, because you also have 25% can be used for, crack sealing, preventative maintenance, the other 75 can be used for the road projects that the city council chooses. So I don't know if Sam has gotten back to us on that. Joan, has he? Of
No,
MSA?
not since what we had. And the last that we had, Dave, and they asked the league.
Okay. So, I mean, for roads, for the capital improvement, I would, go with option 2.
It looks like it has the same effect on the budget for 2026 regardless of which option we go with. So,
Yeah, and I have a question. Well, we get to that
And
point.
going forward, it costs a little bit more per year the way it looks going forward about 2027, it's about 100,000, 900,000, but then after that, it's like 400, and then it drops actually.
At some point in time, we're gonna get all the way around. The option two.
Yeah, the option two, it's less expensive in 2027, 2028. 2029, it goes up. But that's 3 years down the road. So I think I would agree with Councilmember Rush that option two is the way to go to start with.
So yes, if that's the consensus, then what I can do is I can refine the bonding assumptions. And then I can give you some feedback on what the 2027 levy and forward would look like.
Just to be clear, we get more projects done with option two, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Just because the option one, I mean, is the main roads, like, say, for instance, 305th, which needs this bad, but talking to Shane, we should have been starting that discussion this year, because
Right.
we have a lot of wetlands over there.
yep.
You know, the easements on these properties, like 100th and 297th, we're kind of struggling to get those in as right now.
Get what we can get done easily and
Yeah.
move on forward from that.
Okay, anything else that you have for us or need for capital?
Well, maybe what we could do is just do a kind of an overview of my understanding of the capital that you have indicated. So if we start with the fire fund. So this is going to dovetail off of the chart that was prepared. And so we've got a fire engine in 2027, we've got a tender in 2029, and a command unit in 2031. Then I have sets of PPE that equal the amount on the chart. 5 years, I think it was 175,000. Then the STBA's for 5 years, that was 200,000. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Then we've got a rescue tool in 2033, and then I've got annual hose replacement for 25,000 for 5 years.
Yes,
I mean, spread over the 5 years, not per year.
right.
All right. So then for the park fund, I have parking lots for 50,000 a year for the first 3 years, and then 25,000, just confirming that this is, my understanding is correct. There's parks capital equipment, 109,000, 2026, 150,000 in 2027, and then $75,000 each in 2028.
Oh, yes, but I know we're going over these line items right here, but I would just like to say something. I've been thinking about this. I saw the preliminary numbers for this. I'm not trying to hijack the meeting or nothing, but when I saw 23% increase from 2025 to 2026, I'm not voting for that. I mean, we ran as council members that we weren't gonna, everything was gonna be the same as the city. I can see 7-10%, the county 6.5% around there. I can see that, but I think each of us need to sharpen our pencils and dig down into this, because park fund, for 2026, I've said it, I would leave that at 90,000. I've said it about the maintenance department, that I don't think the biggest thing we need is a zero turn for equipment. Our snow plow's coming. Yeah, we got some old vehicles, a 2012 plow truck is our oldest. And 2008, the other the Jay's favorite Ford, 1 ton. So I think for those, I would just like to remain the same and reduce this down.
Well, let's get through and think about if we can, great, what do we want to cut?
Yeah,
What you're asking.
yeah,
Same as you want to cut. This, while we're talking about approving at least what the line item budget is, we can approve that preliminarily, whatever, but if we want to cut it, we still have the ability to do that. I think what we need to do is get through everything that Liz has got us put together today, so we have at least a discussion about why the things are the way
Just understanding, this is a preliminary budget, and we cannot raise this, but we can lower it. That my understanding. So no matter what number we come up here, we can lower it, can't raise it. So I want to make sure that we get a number we can lower.
yeah.
I'd hate to get in there and all of a sudden we're gonna run into an issue, and that's just a concern.
So so your 2024 levy was 1,661,000. 661,551. Okay.
Do you have it there, Joan? You get copies of that for everyone? I don't need it, I've got the copy from last year yet. I keep everything. Oh, all right.
Okay. So, but with what got in there for the park, for the things, are we going to need, well, she has in there 50,000 for the parking lots per year for 3 years, correct?
So those are the major capital items, the funds for the capital. So I just wanted to confirm my understanding, and then I don't want to jump ahead either, but yes, this is a discussion about your max levy. And this will go on to the truth and taxation notices, what you adopt for your preliminary levy. You can reduce it, but you cannot increase it. And so if we put this into some context, so I got the preliminary tax capacity from the county, so that number could change a little bit, but just to put it into context, if we are looking at a tax rate of the 17.7, in 2018 through 2021, your tax rate was higher than that. So in 2018, it was 24%, and then it came down to 19%. So it's not like we're going on a projection like this. It came down, and now it might be going up a little bit more. And so there are quite a number of factors that are out of your control when it's come down to what the tax rate is. And so the things that are not in your control is the tax class rates that are set by the state. That's not in your control. And also what the assessed value is, that's not in your control. So the thing that you do have control over is what your levy is. So there's a lot of different factors that go into what your final tax rate is, if that makes sense.
Mayor, can I ask one more question? So on the proposed 2026, where it's a 23% increase, everything as is, I see you had $110. Tax rate, is that per household, and then what's the value of the household?
So the
300,000, 200?
So the $110 is the marginal impact on a single-family home valued at $404,000. And so what would happen is that we're talking about, you know, the changes in the assessed value, right, that is set by the assessor. So if that home was worth, $388,000 in 2024, their taxes paid, the city portion of the taxes would have been $556. And then if you inflate that over time, what happens is that single-family home, the taxes paid would be the $698. And so that is a $110 increase over your 2025. That's where that number comes from.
Okay, thank you.
That makes sense.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a clarification? So you had mentioned the tax rate on the capacity and versus the increase in the total levy. What tax rate are we really looking at? Is it the 17.7% or is it 23%? I just want,
23% is just the increase of the levy amount. That number's coming from.
Correct.
so the actual tax rate on the capacity of the taxpayers is 17%? 17.7, is that?
Preliminarily, and so I would suggest that you concentrate on what your levy needs to fund
Right.
rather than what the tax rate is.
It's just for a context kind of deal, so, okay.
Because at this time of year, there's a lot of moving pieces with the county. Values are not going to get finalized really until quite a bit later. And
Okay.
so this is kind of the time period where you're kind of, you know, kind of feeling your way through the dark on what the impact will be.
Okay.
Alrighty, where would you like to go with that? In other words, go through,
So you'll need more time, kind of like what you said earlier, to follow up on the option 2 impacts of the MSA projects, so that when we're looking at, you know, for instance, the 2 reconstructions for 2026, our initial plan is to promise dedicate MSA dollars going forward to fund a bond on that. So in real terms of what we need in the levy is different from what we're really doing on this project, as far as there's a bonding forward. How are incorporating that into projecting what needs are within the levy?
Well, at this point, what I would need from the engineer is to tell me which of these are MSA roads and how much MSA dollars would be available for them. So, you know, as you know, you can borrow against your MSA account, right, the construction portion, so that you can apply it towards these costs. So that's what I would need. Those are the pieces of information that I would need from your engineer. How much MSA could cover these costs? And then I would be able to refine it a little bit more for anything for pay 2027 and forward.
one for them, what we're talking about.
You got road work.
I mean, however, we do have the projection of the smaller projects, the resurfacing, 200,000 put in for 2026, which are what our normal road and bridge should accommodate that.
Correct.
It seems our road and bridge has accommodated those small projects and has been on all projects, including.
And my question was, and we're still working on trying to find out, I think, I don't know if you read that thing. Here that will be or can be billable, or at least. I think we're on the right track. I think we're. I found that out. I have not had a time to talk to Mr. Rupee or Curry, whatnot about that. I would like, before we send them down.
So everybody's aware kind of the timeline that the proposed levy needs to be approved at the September 22nd meeting, because it needs to be to the county auditor by September 30th,
The preliminary one.
preliminary.
That's
To
kind
be
of
in
what I was.
preparation for the truth.
Correct. And like Elizabeth has said, you can go down, but you can't go up. So that's important.
Okay.
Any other questions? Too far down here, is there any more direction you need?
No, there isn't any more direction that I need. So just, if we could take a step back. So what this budget does is that it funds all your operations and all the capital needs that have been identified so far. And so that's just kind of a global view. And so what we would need to do the next step is that after the preliminary budget or the preliminary levy is adopted, then we would need to take a closer look at these expenditures and the capital items to see if they should be.
So, Tom, we can sharpen our pencils then.
Yeah, because I know the park fund, I'm not gonna need 125,000. I can tell you that right now. I'd rather take that money, invest it in roads. And then on your park thing,
Well, but hang on. Off
No,
there, but if we're gonna try and sharpen pencils, reallocating it to something else. Literally, once we've done this, I think we'll have hopefully a motion tonight for this preliminary budget so that you can bring it back to actually approve what the truth is. Now, after the 22nd is when you're saying, decide what we want to cut.
Okay.
Not necessarily allocate money, take 100,000 out of the park fund and put it to road and bridge. Really not going to reduce the.
I think what he meant to say was, just for a starting point, leave the park at the same, leaves some money to play around with. You know, I'm sure you're saying cut, but roads.
Well, and the overall budget is what I got out of that. 17% to be a smaller number.
Well, and, okay, so what we have in front of us is a difference. What's on this page here for proposed? $404,394 difference. 25 certified to proposed 26. Now the question is, you know, what do we actually need? What do we want to do? Historically, when we were township, the Podunk Town Board Supervisors kind of started this thing with, what do we feel comfortable with asking the residents? And very often, we were not comfortable with making large increases at a single time or whatever. this represents a 23% increase of the levy, which is not the same as the mill rate or whatever, the rate on the actual market value. But it's still a sticker shock. And if I think that it's kind of like, let's do what we used to do. Just take that gut check moment and go, what do we need to accomplish what we want to do? I think we've gotten really, I mean, it's good that we have working on a capital improvement plan, that roadmap, you know, and we've tried doing it in the past. We've had other CIPs and they're always, sometimes they're too big of a meal to chew in one sitting. How much money that could be spent on roads here or any community like us at this time in our situation. But, I think, you know, if you look at road and bridge, not saying 700,000 is the answer going forward, you're looking at 100,000 increase. That 700,000, there's still money in there to do the preventive maintenance stuff. There's been a lot of it's been chewed up to the engineer the last couple of years. And for good or bad, or, you know, for projects that are going to go forward or projects that may not ever go forward. Not here to debate how it was spent, but a significant amount of money has been put into engineering. And we also have missed the opportunities on some number of years in the last 5 years on that preventative maintenance stuff, which we're trying to get that straightened out, which is next week's meeting on Tuesday. But this jump of 23% on the levy, that I supported incorporating, and I also asked the people to vote me on this council. And that'll fly in the face of what I said we were able to accomplish. And I'm really realizing that Main Street isn't good these days. I heard the president last week brag about Wall Street and how good the stock market's doing. But I visit small towns and lumber yards. Agricultural business, you see people putting up new barns, buying new tractors. Trucking business, you see a lot of trucks parked in yards and for sale. Contractors, is there a lot of housing to go around, keep them guys all swinging hammers? It's rough out there. It's a rough time. We got the school district who's making a play to get, how many million? Is it 50? 49 million, just short of 50. Sounds better, 49.
And they're coming next Monday too.
$49 million, and we're not even gonna get a new building out of that. We're just hatching a 1967 high school with a 1994 addition on it. For that kind of money, you think you could probably almost get a whole new building built. So we got competing interests up there. We've got our own needs in the future. And insurance rates have been climbing on everybody. The taxes from the county and the school district are climbing on everybody. And we said we were gonna roll up our sleeves and we were gonna do this without, without a 23%. So, if you went with an 8%, that would be an $140, roughly $140,612 roughly, increase to the amount. And I think we can figure out how to disperse that amongst the funds that really need it. I think the general fund is one that we found we've had deficiencies in, spending a little more than we had budgeted. We've budgeted places we didn't need to budget for. But road and bridge, I think there's money to be saved in there in streamlining our projects. Whether it's getting a generic bid sheet initially designed by the engineers, but then handled by us going forward once we have it in place. Having the bids come in, the clerk, sealed, unopened until the specified date we're gonna open them. if they're just quotes. I think we can squeeze more out of the money we're already levying, get more for the dollars we already have. I think we have more opportunity there into watching our belt on, no offense, professional services. You're very valuable to us right now because we're going through a whole change and everything. Not that the Ellers bill has been a big bill, but the attorney bill, the engineering bill ate up the money.
310,000 is what we spent on engineering and legal. That
Well,
was-
hopefully we can bill,
Year to date.
hopefully we can include that into the MSA dollars for those big projects like 100th Street and 297. If that's the case, you know, then we could apply for those funds that we've got something to pay, to reimburse on it and stuff like that. But that's the growing pains. That's why we're asking for help. That's why we have Shane and Sam. And that's why you're here and that's why Bob's here and everything. But just going forward from here, we really need to just kind of craft our way like we always were, frugal, roll up our sleeves, and hold the line. So when it comes, and I understand that you can't go up after we send in our initial, that's news to me, but because it's a new process for us, but I'm confident that we will figure out how to handle it. But really, the one number we always gonna have to pay attention to is our debt service. Making sure that we're got the right amount there and we're gonna cover our bills and what we've chewed off and buying a plow truck that we haven't seen yet for a year and a half, or is it 2 years? I don't know. Lost track.
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years. That's supposedly gonna be here in service by the time the snow flies.
End of November, yeah.
You know, and I'm so upset about that, but I don't even wanna say anything to them because I just want them to. I don't wanna, they sound like it's gonna happen, so I don't wanna spoil their, you know, enthusiasm to get it done. I've said a lot here, but I hope you get what I'm saying is,
I, excuse me, I echo what you do. Plus we also got, we got these buildings too. That we gotta think about. I mean, that's like, you do a 23% increase, I'm just saying, just throw that out there. And then school levy, and then we gotta do something, whether we're gonna build brand new or you're gonna renovate these buildings, and that committee still has a couple more meetings with our planner to come through their findings, but that's another thing to think about as well. So, I mean, we ran as a, you know,
imagine, hit me with whatever the implications of a 23% increase to the levy. Hit me with a past bond or a past referendum with the school district. And then hit me with whatever that is in this buildings, whether it's spending $1 million here or spending a few million down the road. Yeah, that's gonna be a big chunk for the taxpayer. And I tell you, it's a pretty quiet night here in this room, but it won't be after that. It'll be the end of our promises, end of our truth. It's the end of our credibility. We're gonna really watch what we're doing here, because I think we said we could do this in a way that we were not gonna be, because that was the assumption, was the taxes are gonna go up. You know, and if we get pushback on the roads not moving fast enough, well, we have a source for funding for the collector streets, the MSA roads. Well, we're having trouble getting right of way. Right? Gotta throw it back to them. We'd love to get it done, but the residents don't wanna play ball, don't wanna use that source of funding. And we don't wanna raise your taxes to the point that you can't afford your home or what you thought was affordable. Has everyone's homeowner's insurance gone up significantly? 25 to 30% year after year? Getting ugly. It's expensive to own anything. Funny thing is, still cheaper than rent though. So either way, it's not pretty. Not pretty. So please consider what we've told the voters, what we asked them to do, we asked them to trust us incorporating this into a city. And if it's gonna be a lean year next year, let's make the most of what we got. And so we gotta, on that meeting next Tuesday, we really gotta come together and work as a team. How we're gonna get more dollars on them streets than just talking meetings.
I got that ready, by the way, that meeting too.
Well, I don't disagree with a word that you've said. But where we are at this very moment is incorporating all of what we know for our capital improvement for the large road projects. We've said this in the past too, that take just these, well, that's $4 million. Projected to be $4 million in there. Will be hands down by far the largest ever endeavored, right? And so, and I think that, and check me if I'm wrong, but I think our limit at 1.2 billion, like 26 million or 28 million.
The amount we could extend ourselves
Maximum capacity.
without assessments.
As long as we got the rating, that would cover all that. Never, ever said I'd be scared to death to go there. Right, so when we look at a project like this that suddenly becomes $4 million, two of them, that's 8. All of a sudden, bam, we're at $20 million. Road projects. I've said because of the struggles we seem to be having with this one, I don't know that we necessarily would continue a $4 million project a second year because it's not affordable.
Right.
And so option 2 obviously takes some of that and says that's exactly what we're not going to put it into the regular road. So, but what we have in front of us here now at a 23%, but I mean, shows a whole lot of the things that we said we would like to try and do. If we never knew what the number was, we would be. So I agree with you. I don't, and I agree that there are some trimming that we can do. And hopefully quite a bit. Think at this point in time of cutting that 23%. Where do we go from there? So maybe what we can also say is, where would we need to, simple math if we're going to go by. So I don't necessarily have a problem with putting this to the county as what we say we're going to ask for these numbers. When the people say that, we say we have intentions of cutting. We tried to do everything we think we want to do in the next 3 years or so, or 4 years or so. This is where we're going to need to be to do that. I think we can politically have our conversations with our constituents. This is if we almost did everything we really wanted to do. What it would need to be, the situation we're in here, and then begin to cut. I think we're ultimately going to have that again, and we'll have this meeting again, decide what those cuts would be, give them to Liz, and then hopefully we can get that. Looking here at 23 to 24, you know what I mean? As a township, that was a 15% increase. Remember, we held the line and we held the line and we held the line up to 23. Right? We came out of COVID, we had all kinds of troubles, whatever.
And part of the rationalization we had at the time was we started to see growth in the houses built. There was additions to the
Absolutely.
market value and all that stuff. And so you watched your piece of your pie for Baldwin was going down on your tax statement just simply by the increase in improvements around the town. So we rationalized that, well, we haven't kept up with the growth that we had. Let's make the step. We made the step, we didn't get hung. But I would say right now, I'd suggest a different approach to that. And that is stick to our word, what we said we were gonna do,
put in the honest, what we need to really get it at. So I'm not comfortable coming into that meeting with, well, here's our 23%, but you know, we could cut that down. We could go back and trim it down. But initially, they're gonna come in and they're gonna read this 23% hike in the levy and say, well, that's quite a step. And then, what I'd rather do is come in and say, look, we want to hold the line here. However, we did look at these numbers prior to approving what I think where we should be. But these numbers here, we can talk about them and say, you know, if you'd like us to be more aggressive next year for the 2027, that we should make a jump for roads or the purpose and point at the plan that Jay Swanson wished he saw back in 2009 on the recall of the annual meeting.
Yes.
There wasn't a plan. Agreed that, yes, roads need work. Scott, I'd like to see a plan.
So, just to, and I agree with this sentiment, so it's got 23% for 26. Based on these projections, 27 is under 10, 28 is 2.25%. So you can see that trend. You know, if we cut here, if we drop them down a little bit, we're probably going to have to be a little higher later on, but it certainly is more even. But it's not a, you know, and then in 29 it jumps up to 18, but then it drops to not even 1% the following year. So those are all projections, and this is a preliminary budget. I agree we're going to do some cutting here, but I don't want, I want us just to be careful that we don't cut too much and then all of a sudden we realize that, oh, we're going to need something and we can't go back. We can, once we get better numbers from the county and stuff, we could figure this out. So
I understand, and like I said at the first budget meetings, I'm in favor of an 8 to 10% increase, like I said, and I hear it every day. I mean, grocery store, restaurants, roads. That's what people care about, getting this roads done. So I'm willing to cut from the park fund. And correct me if I'm wrong, the capital fire went from 100 to 226. Is that because of the engine, the $1.1 million?
no,
Is that something different, or?
no, we took the engine, they took that engine out of that because they were going to bond for that.
So Liz, or what's the big jump in the capital fire then if it's
It's
not?
everything. It's the other apparatus that is getting old and, you know, having issues that we're gonna have to replace at some point. We got 3 years left on our SCBA's. We'll have to get new SCBA's at that point because they'll be out of OSHA and NFPA compliance. The same with our PPEs. They'll be out of OSHA and NFPA compliance. Me as a fire department have no control over what the bigwigs in Washington decide on that. So they could be perfectly good, but they're telling us it's out of compliance. Somebody gets hurt while weighing something out of compliance. The city is going to be liable for that issue. Then we always have to replace fire hose, and we have one new set of rescue tools. All the other sets are more than 10 years old.
Well, if I'm looking at this spreadsheet here, it looks like you need 86,000 for everything but apparatus each year going forward.
Yeah.
So you need that difference for apparatus? Is that what the rest of the?
This is a capital, I was told to project a capital outlay for the fire department. What is going to having to get replaced that's outlived its life, all that kind of stuff. And so we need the tender, we're driving to 96.
Well, we probably would bond for that tender when we need a tender.
I understand that. I'm just telling you what I was, to do a capital budget, this is what you do. We can decide to bond, but
Well, it sounds like we're just levying money to put in the bank till we're ready to buy something? Cause do we need 226,000 a year? On and on and on, then we might as well not be bonding then, in that case, but is that
It's
what
up
we
to
wanna
the
do? Do we
cities.
wanna tax people to have it in the piggy bank until we're ready to go to the store?
Well, bonding is historically whatever, road project and some equipment. And some equipment that that's what we've used bonding for.
Yes, but you've got this capital fund here, fire.
I do have a question for you. If one of these engines gets in an accident and en route to a call and we wipe out an engine and we have nothing, how are we getting that money right away to replace
We're gonna go rent one.
it? Well, they're not cheap. Even the used ones are not cheap.
I wonder if our insurance would cover a rental. We should find out. Could you call and find out if we have rental reimbursement for a fire engine?
In the case of an accident, we would ultimately, I believe,
Right.
the question is, what
For how long?
do for
Or just for example, engine one, which is over 20 years old, the engine goes to crap and we're having bigger maintenance issues with these vehicles. That is not covered by insurance.
That's a pre-emissions truck there, so you're holding on a piece of gold there.
Okay.
You just
All
be
right.
happy you have that.
I'm just trying to make sure that we have adequate.
What I think,
Adequate emergency.
I think when there's a real situation that we have to make tough decisions and we gotta act quickly and we gotta make something right or whole, we'll figure it out at the time.
Well,
But I'm still just trying to understand. So this capital fire fund, what's the difference? It would, if we would bond for the fire truck coming up, is that gonna come out of the debt service fund? Or is that coming out of the capital fire, the payments for it? What fund is the payments for a bond on said fire engine 3 years from now?
that would come out of the debt service.
Debt service. So then I wanna know what is this 226,000 probably going forward a year? What is that going to? Because I see right here, other than apparatus, I'm at 80, what did I say before?
85,000?
86,000.
Yeah.
Pump the hose.
Fire hose, yep.
My intention was the payment would come out of that fund. That's what apparatus, it's an apparatus fund, that's what it's for. That was my intention when I did this.
Well, do we know how much that payment would be and how many years we're gonna bond for? I mean, it's kind of the carts before the horse, asking for 226,000
Well, I
this
think you
coming
have a
year.
list of equipment, possible costs.
Okay, so it's derived from a long term, it's looking at all the machinery.
Right.
So you're thinking like some duty vehicle or something that's, 50,000 this and 100,000 that. You're hoping to just not have to bother with bonding on those. And this fund was building up that.
Right,
Money to do
is the fire department CIP that we did for the incorporation had all that.
Has all the data to go to that
has
200.
all that information in there as to what the projections going forward were.
If I could provide a little bit of clarity. So we've got the capital outlay for the fire engine, but we're not bonding for that entire amount, so we're bonding for about 700,000 of it. So what we're doing then is when we're levying, we're putting cash in the bank towards that.
However, didn't we allocate some of the COVID money? The last of it was gonna go towards the
Yeah,
purchase
it
of
did.
that?
It did.
It was 120,000, I believe.
That $120,000 down payment. Was there any other additional funds that were left over?
That was the
were gonna go to
last
it?
bit, because it,
Because there was the thing where that, I think we did another purchase, but we also said that we were gonna reimburse back, and that brings that COVID money back around again.
We left ourselves
The option to do that. And we were talking about combining the snowplow with what other, expenditure? We're gonna do a 2-for-1 on something.
well, I think, part of what the, fire truck was gonna be, and, Oh, what you're talking.
Yeah. Okay, so they have a nice CIP. They have a nice CIP plan that we don't have in front of us to refresh our memory on everything that's there. However, we always do have the option of stepping these instead of, meaning
No, I know, I
that we're gonna
understand.
stretch this truck out a little longer, we're gonna go a little further. And we work our way towards funding your CIP plan.
Understand the direction I got when we were talking about doing this to get the capital, to get those capital projects. Put all the capital projects that we were gonna have there. And I don't disagree that that's gonna come down.
I appreciate that you got the real cost.
Yes.
I appreciate that we got the real cost. I appreciate that this represents real cost. Real cost versus the reality we work in. And the reality is, we're here elected by the people of the city to manage. And we could go to them blue in the face and say, we're trying, we're definitely planning, we're planning. But we're working on a shoestring budget. However, we don't want to hit you with a great increase at once. So I would suggest that within some of these places, these areas, the park, does the park really actually need 90,000? Do you have some projects that you're looking to do next year, or could we go without doing?
I'm gonna
some
do a
big
leak or
project?
sell, not so fast. The driveways are done, the parking lots. The only thing that at the park right now is the trails, which we're working on cutting back what's in the DNR, considered in the
And how much do we
wetlands.
need for the match for that when that actually comes true, which may
We're not doing the DNR grant.
So we're out of that. Now we're just
Yes.
doing some of our own work. And how
Yes.
much do you need to spend on that?
I'd probably say about 50,000. So we got 50,000 left we have 95 and you gotta pay for the parking lots. So for me, I mean, I'm comfortable reducing that from 125 to 90,000.
And then you got your mowing and maintenance.
Yep, the only thing that we really need for equipment wise is the Simplicity is a 20-year-old zero turn. And they kind of jerry rig it to keep it going. That might be the only thing, really. And then this, redoing the crushed granite trails. But we are looking at, with the other engineering,
The park,
more,
the park shouldn't fund that 100%. It's used at the cemetery. It's used at the town hall.
yeah, but, yeah, with more engineering, we got the wetland thing. But what we're trying to do is get that out of there. Can we not put a crushed granite trail? Can we just mow it? So it doesn't impact the wetland. So then we don't have to buy wetland credits and stuff like that. So I'm sorry to beat around the bush here. I'm comfortable with leaving that at 90,000. And I think everything else, I was just questioning the capital fire, because at least you have your capital fire there. I don't even know what the hell's in my maintenance plan for the capital back there for the equipment.
Oh, that's been ad hoc purchases when we've needed them.
No, but I'm saying it's not even,
Well, right, but we'd have.
it's not even in here.
Ad hoc.
It's in the general fund. So I don't even know what I have for, because we built an SEG for that. We had capital fund in 2024, we had $60,000 in there. So it's in the, and Liz, I'm sorry, I don't like how my road and bridge is combined in there, because it makes me angry, because I don't know what's in front of me. You know, what we're doing for capital improvement plans. I don't know how other municipalities do it, but at least you have your front and center.
We did a lot of work to come
I know.
up with a written capital improvement plan.
Yep.
That projected the costs, and if it had been in the general fund, it was in the general fund, but I had the plan that said what it cost.
But he's just talking about tracking funds available.
Yeah, in the road and for back there, because I'm not asking for, gentlemen, if I'm just, like you said, I'm hoping that truck's here by the end of November. After that, I'm buying used equipment. I'm not buying new.
Like from New York.
No, not from New York.
Well, the fire engine, I got 3 more years on the fire engine.
So, but anyways,
Liz, did you get cut off there?
sorry.
All right, well, and I think if we're going to do that, I think that what we need to do is we need to start literally going through these line item budget that we have here
Just like we used to.
and say,
Oh, there?
where do you think the cuts can be?
Oh.
You know what I mean? This is whether this happens tonight and we keep Liz here while we're doing it. That's what you're asking. You're saying you want to leave, now check me if I'm wrong, but you want to leave here tonight with what we believe is going to be the budget that we're going to literally approve, whatever, or at least post at this point with the cuts and the reductions in it.
And I understand where you're coming from. My concern is that we do all these cuts and then we still have people that are upset with those, with a 10% increase, and we got nothing to give them. Got nothing to cut at that point. That is my concern there. I don't want to, you know, I think there's cuts to be had too, but I just want to be careful of where we get to.
Well, I mean, I think for the, I think the general fund looks, we've always been kind of running low there. Road and bridge, 800,000, hey, I'll take 100,000. I don't even know what's in my capital
We'll
fund.
take a what?
I'll take the 100,000. No, I'll take 100,000 added from 700 to 800.
So what it says on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not a cut. That was.
I was gonna say, there's no cut there.
I think,
Running out of places to cut, Tom.
well, I think,
That's why, with cut up, Tom, what I was saying,
If you're going to take.
it could be
100 out of-
600,000 next year, and we just don't get carried away with
no,
spinning our wheels.
I think the park fund should be 90,000. I think the special revenue should be 25,000 as is, not 26.
Now, 1,000, that's fine. It's 1,000.
Yeah, I think the park fund can be $90,000. The question is the fire fund and the capital fire, I think we can bond for the apparatus instead of building up an SA. That's just me,
Well,
but,
and that's another question too, Tom. I don't mean to cut you
No, go
off,
ahead.
but, you know, and that has been the philosophy of this board as we were, you know, all along. How many dollars do we garner out of the people's pockets, whatever, to hold escrow for something? $1 million fire truck, whatever. Actually take $1 million out of the people's pockets. Fire truck, you know what I mean? Or, and in the case of a catastrophe, let's say you do calf a motor in the thing. I mean, I think we, or something catastrophic, whatever, we lose. Or something like a very super inclement condition or something. Now, if we have to do something, we'll bond for it. At that point in time, ultimately, that's when the need. I think Liz is also telling us too that, well, we should have something in there. Not wrong. You know, the question is what are we comfortable with? It would appear to me that capital fire at $100,000 was something we could live with. So where's the place that we can feel comfortable? And if you, but what we're asking is, how far down the road do you want to kick the can? Or are we still prepared to take that?
Take a step.
Because that's what he came up with, was the capital plan. Here's what we're gonna need in these amount of years. And if things happen, or if something goes awry, a big ticket, something happens, bond for it at the time.
And understand, we're trying to get grants for almost all these
Yeah,
items.
that goes without
The
saying.
fire department is. The SCBA's, you know, that is something, like I said, we got a 3-year timeline. Then we're gonna have to buy 25 sets of SCBA's and 50 tanks. So that's something that, how do you want to do it?
Which the FEMA grants are more popular for that than apparatus.
You got to get the FEMA grant, and the FEMA grants are not easy to get anymore. They cut the the federal government cut FEMA's budgets for grants significantly this last time.
So Tom, you say you would be okay at 90,000 for the park still?
Yes. And the special revenue 25, so cutting that would bring it down to only 21%.
Right. I'm,
So,
And no, I want to do the capital fire, so 100 to 226, that's a big jump.
right, and I'm,
Realistically,
125? Step?
Scott, me personally, I think we build up the nest egg, and that would be used for your SCBA, your PPE, your rescue tools, and then like if you need a new apparatus, whiz bond for it. That's just me.
So in putting together the financial management plan, what we're trying to do is to fund all your identified needs, and we're also trying to look at our ending fund balances. And so if we use $90,000 for the park levy, and if there's no cuts for that, then your fund balance goes negative in a couple of years. And so this is another thing that we need to consider. So we had that discussion when the financial statements came out, right? That the general fund balance was very low. And so we have to keep an eye on that, and we have to repair that. And that is the same thing that we need to pay attention to with all these other funds. So if you are reducing the levy, then the expenditures have to come down too. Because if you don't if you don't reduce the expenditures, then you could go into a negative situation. So that's just something to keep in mind, right? So that to put it into context, that we need to be looking at the expenditures, not just the revenue side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then for your.
yes, definitely. I think that we're understanding that.
Yeah, and Mr.
Whether we're conveying that understanding to you or not.
I just want, Mr. Mayor, just one thing, for the parks, we got new playground equipment. Our old playground equipment was like 23, 24 years old. Replace that, that's good. The park committee wanted the parking lots expanded at Young Park because there was limited parking. And we also wanted to get Goose Lake. Those are done now. So the only thing I really encompass in the next few years, with the park committee, is working on the crushed granite trails and redoing those. We got a ball field. I think maybe another pavilion down the line, but there's really not too much.
Well, I think when it comes down to the park fund as an example, is the playground replacement kind of sprung up, and we just kind of scrimped money from all around to make it happen. That's how we get into these negative fund balances. So going forward in 26, he thinks that his maintenance cost of mowing and all that, which is usual minimal amount of what, 15,
10 to 15.
10, 15, 12,000 or whatever. And that he's only gonna have what's remaining left over to play around with some small projects. And so we have to be mindful and make adjustments in what we call in our budget, saying, that, okay, well, we're covering mowing, employee cost this, employee cost that, supply, gas. Oh, and then here's these one-time cost of some granite, in there, whatever. But that's gonna happen in everything we do here, we're gonna have to go back and make adjustments, is what you're saying. Especially when it comes to, for instance, the general fund, that's I look at that and go, that's kinda on the low side-ish already. We're not even talking about touching that. We spent a lot of time on that, as far as budgeting and stuff. But road and bridge, when and you're talking about leaving it with 100 increase, I would suggest cut. One of the places to make a cut here today. You still get your preventative maintenance done within that money.
Oh, we need more money. Microsurfacing, Jeff, 50,000 a mile.
Which is,
Road projects,
we're doing our first projects and we're gonna have to see how that goes.
yeah.
So I wouldn't be saying, well, now we're gonna double down or triple down next year until, we see how this turns out.
well, just
Seal Pro said these.
just a thought process that look at the projections of the road fund going on. The next year is almost a $300,000 increase from 800,000 in 2027 in the projections,
Scott, I don't think people will balk at that.
okay?
At roads, they're got 82 miles of roads. And then if, I don't know if you read Sam's email, we haven't even touched the developments yet. We got developments, my development's 20 years old. There's developments 20 to 30 years
Got
old.
crack sealed, you're good to go for a couple of years.
Well, some need a complete mill and overlay. They're too far gone.
So this,
Suffice it to say that if we, for whatever it's worth, if Tom believes that 90,000 is what revenue would be
Yeah, let's get back
for
to
the
the,
park, live within that budget. Roundabout way, we're kind of. And so.
I don't have really, just to crush Granite Trails.
'Cause I mean, and the difference between 125,000 and 90,000, whatever, doesn't move that.
It drops it to 21, 23 to 21.
Right, and you're looking to get down to 8 to 10?
No, I was thinking 10 would be, I mean, if we done it in years, I'm just saying, what I'm hearing for people, a lot of people, the roads are the biggest thing they want done.
And that's fine, so what we need to do is we need to pay attention to what in here, then, are we gonna cut to get 23 down to 10?
Well, it's real easy on the capital fire fund
I
making a
was trying to
cut.
get there, but we.
Well, to make that cut there, is because that's actually for things we're buying in the future.
Well, and I mean, if we take that from 100,000 was 25, 26 is 26 proposed at this moment.
I just kicked out their 125, making a step,
You
a
kicked out
step.
125.
You can make a step the next year, and a step the next year after that.
That fits. That doesn't necessarily hinder the
no,
thoughts of.
the 125 will be fine. I don't have a problem. Just to be aware that some of that stuff that we have in that projection has normally been coming out of the operations fund, and this is the way we're gonna fund it otherwise to pay for it, so.
So then you're not having to cover it in the operations fund, but the operations fund increased by 75,000. What's the $75,000 increase for?
300 to 400 calls, plus added fuel and overhead and.
So it's mainly the wages.
And how,
It's mostly
how
wages.
is the money from the contract in,
That's a whole totally
is that
different.
not
fund.
offsetting some of the increase?
It gets the 25% a quarter that runs. The cost, Joan will explain how you take that money quarterly.
Each quarter, we take the expenses of the fire department, which includes the payroll. We take 25% of that from the fire department. That revenue is in a fund by itself, and we take it from that fund and we move it to the fire fund.
So I'm asking, does it, the revenue that we receive not translate into,
It covers what the cost of the,
so we're not,
Contract.
what is the true cost of the operation? You're just saying you need an extra
the
200.
true cost of operations is right on the expense sheet.
Looks like
if you
it's
wanna
been-
Look at it.
It looks like it's, well, 2024, we had 190, and then we increased it to 200,000.
But look on the you wanna know the true operations of the fire fund, look on your expense sheet.
Well, if I'm John Q. Public and I sit
No,
here.
but that's what you asked, Jeff.
Well, I know, but I'm saying if I'm John Q. Public with just this sheet in front of me at Truth and Taxation meeting,
Right,
it looks like you need quite a bit of money to run a fire department nowadays.
and you do. Honestly, you do.
Reduces this, that, which is the increase over that.
So the fire fund this year is, to date, for 2025, has spent 189,000 in the operations. So that number isn't that far off.
Yeah, I'm on the page here now. Year to date, 195,000. Or 98.
But I think that's something that, because Tom said what the work fund, things that are there.
Yeah.
All right, take it back.
You got
I had
increased
the-
calls,
I had the,
but-
I had the wrong, it's 200 and, year to date is 265,000.
Yeah, I see the subtotal down below here.
A little unnecessary.
And this is, that's, the problem is the calls have gone up, the expenses, just to put new tires on is gonna be over $2,000 and we have to put new tires on. It's just little expenses that are just adding up. We're gonna hit 400 calls this year on the fire department and
And I think,
associated costs of fuel and expenses. And I don't have a problem with cutting it somewhat, but understand why that is that high.
what we need to do.
Fine, I just asking a question so that we can defend
Yeah.
the numbers.
What we need to do, so preliminary. and
Not asking to cut.
What I just did here, and it's on the fly, as Liz said, this is on the fly. Not necessarily what we should do, but if we did. So if you took your capital fire down to 125,000, which is what, that's a reduction of 101,000. And if the park fund remained at 90, that's a reduction of 35,000. So if we take that off, the bottom line here, the
Special revenue,
2,162,000.
That'll be 137,000, right?
Special revenue, 26,000.
100
I
plus.
just left that in there. I haven't even touched that yet. I didn't do anything with it. I reduced capital fund fire and the park fund down to what we discussed, 125 and 35 accordingly. Right, do that and reduce that from 2,000,001, 44, then ultimately that comes to 2,026,044, and that's a 13% increase. 25. Okay, and if we're comfortable with that, then what I would suggest that we do is we start going through all of the expenditures that we have here and go line item through there and say, okay, what do we think's really gonna happen to this? Does that fit into this 13% number? Right, because otherwise, absolutely correct, it's on the fly. And we don't have justification for whatever it is. So, we had talked about, the other thing too is, the general fund, I don't disagree with the general fund going up $70,000, $70,400. There it is. So, if we start looking at the expenditures that are here, this is gonna be a line item thing.
Well, okay, but the capital fire fund is a pretty easy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's, that's based
That's why I
on
picked
future
the two of
purchases.
them. That's why I picked the two of them. That and the park fund.
Park is easy.
We
and
believe
also-
it's probably,
The debt service is what it is.
and it's, anything we do with the fire trucks, with this plow truck that we're coming up, you know what I mean? If we're gonna take on debt to do that, you know what I mean, that debt service is gonna go up. And I don't think you have a fire truck, a plow truck into what the debt service of 119 in there? Or is that what's left on the bond for Frontier Trails?
No, so that. Bonds. That debt.
And we don't levy for it, so it's not included. So, let me back up here. The new truck, that bond's already been done.
Paid for, yes, what we've,
Okay, so it's already included. And when, that's what we doubled up, we added the front end loader in it probably.
Part of that expenditure.
It goes back.
Your grapple, I think we,
And we
Excellent.
paid for that, yeah. Tom's grapple, Tom's ladder truck.
His ladder truck, did we get
Tom's
a
ladder
donation
truck. What?
in the bank, a donation or something?
Yeah, we got the, bank donations of Tom Rush Memorial's ladder truck.
not memorial yet.
That grapple is a good purchase.
I told you at the time, but you weren't listening.
So I think we need to take the time and go through the expenditures here.
Mr. Mayor, may I say this one
You
thing?
may say whatever you
So
want.
I think we cut $136,000 tonight.
We dropped 10% off the increase, and
So I think.
as a preliminary,
I
that's a
think
good
that-
idea to have that.
Yes, I think that's a good preliminary number. And then for the rest, now the fire fund, maybe you can look at it and, I don't know, you guys were talking, so I didn't know what was talked about. So I mean, if you want to cut a little bit more there from like, I don't know what you two are talking about.
Are we cutting the road and bridge then too?
I think the 100,000, we need road and bridge.
And I would ask, I would think the fire department might need that too. I'm just saying.
I didn't hear what your discussions I was talking about. But I think that's a good number to come with, the 13% for preliminary numbers we run, because you don't want to go, I think that's pretty decent, and if you need to cut a little bit more, well, we did a 15% increase, what? Said 20,
We did. We held the line through COVID and through the downturn and everything there. And we told the people while we were holding the line, there was going to be a significant, at some point in time, because we needed 15%.
so I'm just suggesting the 13, I think the 13% preliminary number is good to submit, the truth in taxation. Then if we want to go through these a little bit tighter and shed a little bit more, can.
And I think ultimately, we're going to have another one of these meetings. And what is the timing? How long will you need?
You need
We talked
MSA.
about option 2. And Bridge was. That neither of the funds that we used at this point touch any of that. So we'll need to add that.
Supplement.
And you can have those.
Joan would answer it, but
Because here's what I'm saying.
So the impacts of the road projects is gonna be for pay 2027, not necessarily pay 26. And so we would have a little bit more time to take a look at that. If you wanted to go with the 2,026,000 levy, then the impact is down to $66 instead of $100.
Yeah, I think that's more reasonable.
I don't disagree with that at all. And then we will have to schedule the next. We're gonna need one more to put all this together so that we can get it to the county by the.
Right, I'm just looking at.
Well, I'm looking to you for the schedule.
Because you also need to know what the MSA costs are from our engineer as well.
For 2027 planning, yes.
And just be done with it.
that's not how the contract.
For the 2025 plans.
26.
Plans.
Number 30 at Joan, right?
Except for what, for
Gotta be
it?
the county.
Yes, but you have to approve the proposed budget at a city council meeting. And that's what we're gonna do on the 22nd.
Right.
And can I just ask, since we don't really, this is kind of new to us,
Hang on, gentlemen, would you?
so what do typically cities do? I mean, you talk about sharpening the pencil, but what I'm thinking, what I'm hearing is that typically you would do, this as your preliminary numbers, pass it, and then you sharpen your pencil and you go through your line items to decrease these amounts. Is that correct? I mean, that's how I've been taught and told.
That's correct, yes. So the preliminary levy is your max levy again. And then you would adopt that, and then you would go back to do the work to decrease it for the final, instead of trying to decrease it for the preliminary.
Yes, I'm just willing to live with. I understand what you're saying, but
But because people don't see really the preliminary, you know what I mean, as far as, the city council approves it,
Oh, no, it's out there for everybody to see. There's no.
When we do the truth
But
in
I mean-
taxation, those numbers will be this preliminary one, correct?
No, those will be our reduced.
Those will be the reduced ones. So we don't that actually isn't gonna happen until we do the reduced ones.
Correct.
Like I said, I'm fine with what we said. I agree that that's a preliminary and that's those projections. I would say that the cuts to the fire,
Park and special revenue?
the
road and bridge.
$1,000 in special revenue, I'm not really worried about.
Well,
How about 6,000? Would you take 6,000 off?
100.
What was the percentage that the fund was funded prior to us making the increase on the retirement? Well, I can't remember what that number was.
0 before we pushed it up.
At one point, it was.
No.
Oh, you mean the 15,000?
No. What percentage was the fund funded at? Because you have to maintain 104%?
Well, you don't have to maintain anything, but I've always, the fire department has always tried to maintain about 110%.
110%.
So it has no
However,
effect
what
on-
was it at right at the time that we just did the last increase to the retirement? I believe we were told this before we voted
It
on
would
it.
remain, after the increase, it would remain at 116.
It would remain at 116. What was it before the increase?
Of 124, I think the projection.
124? See, we had a time before you were even on the department when that thing was like 200 and some percent. And then one day the voters at the annual meeting said, how much do you get from the insurance for the state program?
It's in there, 2%, at the 2%.
But what does that amount to? What have you taken in the last couple of years?
I'm not sure because that goes, Joan has that the state sent, that Paris sent us. It has all the figures in that, and that should have got sent out to you guys through your emails. Did you check them? I just can't remember it right offhand. In the stuff, the Paris stuff has it all listed. I can't remember what it is. It's not a lot of money, but it is money that gets put in there. It's like 50,000. I'm just throwing a number out there. I'm not
Annually?
positive. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so,
That's the 2% money. Yeah.
all right, so what has happened is over time it builds up and becomes well past that 110%. And you say you like to be at 110%. But we've proven over and over, we get above that with continually voluntarily putting 25,000 or, started out as 15,000, where you made it way to 20,000, etc. I would ask that we try to come up with a number that works with what we take in from the 2% from the insurance policies that keeps us at that threshold of, say, 110 to 115, doesn't get us up to 126, doesn't get us up to 150%. But then, when you want to do an increase in the future of the retirement, we have the discussion, we decide that that's something we want to do, and then we make the people of the city at that time pony up the more money. Because right now what happens is we just keep ponying it up, for a future increase of that.
So I'm just gonna say, Jeff, we're going back to the bad old days that we don't put anything in there.
I didn't say zero.
Well, let
I didn't
me
say
finish.
zero.
Let me finish. That most cities put significantly more money into their fire fund than we are here. And our pension is lower than most of the cities around here. Malacca's at 6,700, Princeton's going over 5,000.
For the benefit.
For the benefit,
How
well,
much-
this is
how
what
much-
the benefit, this
How
goes
much
into
is
that
the,
benefit.
how much are those two cities levying in a special revenue fund to fund it?
Princeton's levying more. I'm not sure what Malacca
Well,
is.
much more. I mean, what's that number? I'd like to know the number. What is Isani? What do they got to do? How much
I
do they
have
gotta-
no, I have no idea because I wasn't planning to
I
talk.
bet they don't put very much because they probably raise
I,
quite a bit.
And technically, it should be self-sustaining. Open for in the beginning.
right.
People had a desire to continue.
The people, the small amount of people that were at the annual meeting, which half of them were recipients of the retirement
And
program.
because they were at the annual meeting, drove everything that we did.
Just saying, and I've not attacking the fire department, I'm just pointing out the inconvenient facts.
For all intents and purposes, the people in their whole approved that. Because if everybody had a chance to come to the meeting and talk about it, whatever, those that did.
And it wasn't a firefighter that proposed the last increase.
Probably was you.
It was me. It's way too low.
And I'm not debating the what we just approved for the amount and the argument that you made about what the going rate is and all that stuff. But I have seen that fund grow into more than the threshold you're supposed to meet.
Just a real quick synopsis. I've got 2 retirements coming up, gonna take over 200,000 out of that fund. 2 retirements are coming up.
But the way that fund was set up, that was supposed to know there was a table that you followed, followed each man and all their service.
The actuarials are accounting for that. But my personal opinion is that you decide to cut that fund, you're just telling the firefighters that they,
It's not taking their retirement away. And I'm not talking about cutting the fund completely. I'm saying, can we find a number that maintains?
I disagree.
And then when you
25,000
decide that, what did we just increase it to, 4,800?
Used to be, I believe, 15,000 back in the day, and then we increased it,
Yeah.
it was increased to 25,000 at one of the.
Oh, okay, so, but what I'm saying is at the 4,800 per year of service, and the actuary table says you need this much to cover what you've already got, yada, yada. And with the money coming in from the state fund with the insurance program and all that, all right, what is that number that we need to supplement that keeps us at, instead of 110%, 120%? Is it 26,000 or is it 20,000?
Understand that they're investing that money, so we won't know that at year to year. We have no idea what the investments.
Well, there should be an average. They should be investing in things, so, they're looking at 5 to 6% return or something like that.
I think their tables are looking at a 6 or 7% return. I think it's 6.
So let's be conservative and use 5% returns, right? And we don't have to figure this out today, but I just, your increase made it possible to easily, motion you made, made it possible for us to make it an easy decision to increase it to 4,800 at the previous meeting because the fund had the money to cover it.
I'm just
So
gonna.
maybe we have to leave it here because then in the future, 4,800 is not enough. And when we want to jump to, say, 5,300, then maybe because we were funding $25,000.
I think 25,000 is adequate and doesn't need to get changed. That's my feeling on
It's
it.
getting bumped to 26.
We offered to take $1,000 off.
It doesn't bother me one way or another.
I asked him if he
I
could-
have to, on that part, I would, because I'm not
That's
gonna.
sustain, I understand.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, can I just make a suggestion? So due to time, because I'm missing the Buccaneers game, my boy Baker's playing, can we, I'm comfortable with what we did, 136,000 preliminary,
From those 2 funds?
3 funds this year,
So
1,000. And then,
Thought that was 137,000 with that one.
what was
Yeah, you're-
proposed
oh,
here was 2,162,044. what I've reduced it here by the numbers that we have
Two.
discussed so far, brings it down to
$2,026,44. Yeah, so I think that will be the preliminary number we submit to Truth and Taxation, then we can look back, because, and if we want to cut it a little bit more in any of these funds, go back and do that.
And the only fear in doing all of that is, can't go over that number, so. I believe, so after we submit this to the county, another budget meeting like
Yes.
this, I think we're gonna get to that tonight.
Because maybe Scott can come back with your question, I
over
don't
budget and
know,
budget.
whatever he,
So are we taking that $1,000 out of the special revenue?
No, not with these
Leaving it
numbers.
at 26,000.
I'm suggesting we leave it in there at this point in time.
I'm gonna stay neutral on that, cause these guys are the cutters, so. They wanna cut the $1,000 from the
Out
fire
of this number
department.
that I exposed here.
Read it again, please, Mr. Mayor.
So it was $2,162,044. If we approve it, we decided the capital fund was 100,000 to increase of 226. Using the number that was discussed of 125,000. 101,000.
Yep.
Mr. Rush had said that he could live with another $90,000 a year in the park fund. That had gotten bumped up to 125, which is 35,000. So if we do that, we're gonna take $2,162,000. $2,026,044, which is 13% increase. I think we can do it. I think we can, because we've already been through, and Liz has been through all of our revenues, all of our expenditures and those kind of things. The numbers we got with a 23% increase at that point in time included all of that. Fairly safe things to reduce. While still leaving all the revenue or expenditures. So Liz is absolutely correct. If we are gonna take $35,000 out of the park fund, then whatever we were expecting, whatever we thought we might have would had $35,000 to do in the park fund, we don't have that now. So the projected expenditures, like she had said, use those dollars. That's the cut. So, and I think that after we do this, after we submit this, then we'll come back and go
Sharpen
through
the
all of these
pencils.
line items and see if we can take that.
I'm fine with
And
that.
again, I think we can rationalize this as a very big oversight by saying that if we had a 23% in 2027 and only 26, I mean, sorry, and a 4% in 2027, we were looking for one big year. So if this happens or something similar to this happens again for 27, technically, we're gonna be right back in the same.
You're budgeting $48,602.27 for improvements other than building in parks. That's where you take your cut.
Right, and we can go over that later, but.
Yeah, but I mean, it's that simple, one spot, clap, that's projects.
And now he has a budget surplus, bigger than the 35 we took out.
You're talking about my 48,000.
There's 48,000 budgeted for 2026 for improvements other than building.
Yeah.
In the park fund. That's where you're gonna take the trimming,
Okay.
your
Beat this
35,000.
up enough. Liz, have we missed anything? More you need to have or whatever that, alrighty, then, we have done. Get me out of here. 3 and 3, and, which would be 3 and this should be 4, so now we're at number, technically 5, which would be approve, disapprove the proposed 26 line item budget.
Motion for that?
Yes. That would be this amended one that we had talked about. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second.
Hell, you're here?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Please let us record show I oppose that, because I don't think the cuts were deep enough. For what I've said in my arguments about the presentation, what gets brought forward to the people based on what we said we were going to do. Thank you.
Yes. Anything else we need to do, Liz, that you need from us before we adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:36. Thank you. Oh, yes.
I realize that, but I still made my case about pulling it down further.
Mr. Mayor, I'll tell you how much the fire relief received, 2% money in '24, $59,639.